What's going on, guys? Have you ever been out on trail and wished that you could just snap your fingers and reduce the weight in your pack? In this video, I'm going to go over 3 ways that I've used that have both reduced the weight in my pack and not changed my experience in the backcountry. And the best thing of all is that they're both easy and low to no cost. And I'm not talking about cutting the handle off of a toothbrush. I'm not talking about swapping out a headlamp strap for a thinner headlamp strap. I'm not talking about cutting straps off a backpack or even going hungry. These are things that are practical that will reduce significant weight in your pack, so keep watching. Before I get into the 3 ways, I do want to make sure that I clarify that this is not a video about what to take and what not to take. This video is simply to get some juices flowing, some ideas going that will help you be able to think about ways that you might be able to reduce some pack weight and not have to spend a ton of money on it and just easily swap some things out, which takes me to point number 1. Make a trade. If you're going to make a trade for something in your backpack, think about things that there are other lighter weight, smaller options for. One example is a device like this. This is a solar panel device. Some people will carry actual solar panels and set them up. And to me, I think that these things, one, they haven't really ever worked very well. They're heavy, they're bulky, and yeah, it packs a punch as far as options go. It's got a light, it's got this little thing you can wind up and hopefully charge something with it. But I don't know. For the weight and the size, there are so many other better things, such as little power banks. These are both 10,000 milliamp hours, and this one's a little more expensive, but it does way less. And this one I think is by Anchor, and it's only about $20, and it's a 10,000 milliamp hour. But man, for the weight savings you're going to have over taking something like a solar panel, and I mention this because I've seen a lot of people out there with their solar panel devices and whatnot. In fact, when I first started backpacking, I took this with me, and I'll tell you, it didn't really do a whole lot of good. Yes, it does hold some power in it. It's about 4,400 milliamp hours, but I'll tell you, the weight and everything, just take a power bank. You'll be so much better off. Another thing to swap out is a massive flashlight. These big old Maglite flashlights, or whatever brand you might have, that pack like 10,000 lumens or something like that. I personally don't know why you'd ever need something like this. I mean, if you want to carry it, go for it. But this is fairly heavy compared to something like a little headlamp that weighs 1.2 ounces. Now, it did originally weigh just over that before I swapped it. And I did swap the headlamp strap on this one to save a little bit of weight, and I saved about 0.8 ounces, I would say, so almost an ounce by cutting that out. But that's not the big weight savings. The big weight savings is cutting out these big old things and just either take a smaller flashlight or, like I said already, a headlamp. Another item that I see people take is bug spray. These things are heavy. However, a good option is these Repel bug wipes. Now, you don't have to use Repel brand. There are other brands out there that you can get that are bug wipes, but this will significantly cut weight in your pack by probably a few ounces. So what I do is I'll buy 2 of these, and they're not very expensive, and I'll take however many I need for the length of the trip I'm going. So let's say I'm going for 3 days. If I'm planning on using 2 bug wipes during the day, and I would just take 6 wipes with me. So I've reduced the weight from taking a whole package of bug wipes. And that's a significant savings. It may not cut a ton of weight, but if you're able to cut 2 or 3 items, then you can rack up those weight savings really quickly. The next item kind of goes along the lines of the big old things of bug spray, and that is sunscreen. One thing I do is I take this little bottle full of sunscreen. It's got a little tiny hole in it so I can ration it really easily. And that is something that I use while I'm out there. Now, I do also wear a sun hoodie so I can put the hood on. It's got long sleeves. And then depending on the number of days you're going would depend on maybe and areas of your body. If you're not gonna wear a long sleeve shirt, then obviously your arms and your neck maybe. But just kind of ration that, but swapping it out, this big old thing for something smaller, whatever the size is that you need, but chances are you're not going to need this big old thing on most trips. Another thing that I see a lot of people carry when they're out there is a massive multi-tool. I personally don't know when I would ever, maybe if I was fishing and I needed to get a hook out of a fish or something, but there are smaller options than this. And some of the tools on here are just not ever going to be needed, and you're just carrying a ton of weight. I think this one here weighs, it's like almost a pound, which is ridiculous. However, I've seen people out there carrying them. There are lighter ones for sure. This one here is still fairly heavy, and it has all the same kind of functionality, but it is lighter. And then there's even lighter ones, these small mini ones and this one even has a little light on it. So if that's going to be your light, then you can just use that as your light on your multi-tool. But if you don't really need all the tools on this, do something like this. This is a Swiss Army knife by Victorinox, and this thing is so nice. It has a pair of scissors on it, it has a toothpick, it has tweezers, has a knife, it has a nail file, and it's super small. This thing weighs 0.7 ounces, and so doesn't break the bank. Even if you don't own one of these, I think it's like 20 or 25 bucks. And so again, low to no cost options to cut weight in your pack. So if you're carrying something like a big old Leatherman tool, multi-tool, swap it out for something like this. Or even if you don't need all the extra stuff, this one's a good option. But if you don't have one of these and you don't want to spend the money on it, and you do have just a small pocket knife, carry a pocket knife. Just some things to think about as far as gadgets and gear that I've seen people pull out of their packs that are just extra heavy, extra bulky, and really add a ton of weight to the pack when you can swap it out for something smaller. Another thing I've seen people pull out of their pack, and this is no joke, I've seen people pull, and I'm not making fun, it's whatever, if people want to take it, great. But I'll tell you, this video again is about cutting some weight for really low to no cost and very easily. But a full-size pillow, like one you would use at home, that to me is just way overkill. Now, if it's absolutely what you need out there to sleep and to be comfortable, definitely take it. But if you're looking at cutting your pack weight, this is a guaranteed way to cut a lot of weight. You can use something like this, an inflatable pillow that weighs only a few ounces versus a full pillow that weighs like probably a pound or more, or 2 pounds potentially, depending on the fill. This thing packs up to about the size of my fist or smaller, and I think this thing was like 13 or 14 bucks. And so you can buy them. I've seen them, inflatable pillows on Amazon for $10 or less, or right around that, $10 to $15. If you want one that is a little bit more like a pillow from home, a little bit bigger, and has like this comfortable little cover on it, then this one here I think was like 15 bucks and 15 to 20, I can't remember, but something like that. And this one's really comfortable, and it's also an inflatable pillow. It does weigh a little bit more than this, so it's a little more expensive, weighs a little bit more, doesn't pack down quite as small, but still pretty reasonable. These are pretty close. So some options to reduce some weight really quickly and low to no cost. The next thing on my list is extra rope. Now, I do take extra rope with me on a lot of my trips because I'm out there and I'm building a shelter or doing something like that. And just because I like to do that kind of thing while I'm out there. But I'll tell you, if I'm trying to pack in miles, and especially if I'm trying to cut weight from my pack, then I'm not going to be carrying a 50-foot hank of 550 paracord. This stuff is heavy and it's bulky. A better option, if you do need a length of rope with you, carry something like this. This little thing is super strong. It's the same length of cord as this. And for most things, if you're needing to lash something together or whatever that you need, like rope for an emergency, then this is definitely going to be the better option. The weight savings, I think, is about 4 ounces between the two. So if you're carrying this or this, you're going to save a lot of weight by carrying this one. And so this is the one I keep in my ditty bag. I mean, yeah, it does add a little bit of weight, but if you're trying to cut weight again, swap this out and trade this for this. The next thing is a first aid kit. I've seen people pull these massive first aid kits out of their pack. It's like they're feeling like they're gonna, you know, I don't know, have some major thing going on, and that can happen. And I'm not saying that not to prepare for those things. And I'll just put in a little tip here that whatever you need to be safe out there is what you probably want to take. However, there's a term, don't pack your fears, or kind of your worries, that kind of thing, the what ifs. There's all sorts of things that could happen for sure. However, 99.999% of the time, you're not ever going to experience that. So if you are trying to cut some weight from your pack, a big old first aid kit is a good way to do that. Now, keep in mind, this one here does weigh a lot more than the one I've put together, and it doesn't contain much more items than this. Honestly, this container is really heavy. There's some stuff in here that I probably would never ever use when I'm out on trail. Yeah, and like I just said, there's possibility, but there's a possibility anything can happen. And so you can opt for something big like this and bulky, or you can just put together your own. In fact, I think mine weighs several ounces less than this one, and it contains more useful gear, useful first aid items in here than this one contains. And so something to definitely think about when you're out there is maybe put together, or when you're planning your trip and packing, is to try and put together what you would need in your own first aid kit. I just keep it also in this Ziploc bag because it's lighter than some other packages out there. So definitely something to think about to cut some weight. Swap this for this. The next item on the list is a little bit, I don't want to say controversial, whatever the word is, controversial, whatever it is. Anyway, but it's a set of camp slippers or camp sandals or whatever, camp shoes. And you know, I do like to have a pair with me when I get to camp. I want to be able to let my feet air out and walk around, and still, if I need to go down and get water, I can just wear these down to the water. I have taken a pair of like just normal flip-flops before, and they are 4 ounces each. Now that's not super heavy, but together it's a half pound of weight. So what I did is I started to look at some options that are super lightweight and durable, and I just made these little camp sandals right here. These have worked really well, and I think these weigh like 1.3 ounces or something like that per sandal. Let's just see here. I've got a scale right here. 1.6 per sandal versus 4 ounces per sandal. So, or if you're taking Crocs, those are even heavier, and a lot of people take Crocs. And Crocs are great. They've got like the sport mode if you put the strap on or whatever. And you know, they are durable and they're comfortable. I've never actually owned a pair or worn a pair, but my kids wear them. But they're heavy. They're probably heavier than a pair of regular flip-flops. So I don't know, figure out something like this. And the final item on my list, now keep in mind, this is not an all-inclusive list. There are other things, other ways to cut weight from your pack. But this one is a definite one that will cut weight from your pack. And I've been with so many youth groups that have packed canned food. And I'll tell you, this is heavy. Something you want to definitely do as well as weigh your stuff. Don't go by what this says. This says the net weight is 10.5, but I'm putting it on the scale and saying 12.3. And then it's bulky. You're always going to have to carry the can around with you. You don't ever condense your gear that way, your food, because you still have the can. Hopefully you're not leaving it up there, leaving it in the fire or whatever, but this is definitely something that will for sure be able to cut some pack weight. So opt for something different, and I'll go into that in the second way to save backpack weight. The second way to save a ton of weight very easily and for little to no cost is to plan your meals. I don't know how many times I've gotten back home from a trip and I'm going through my pack and I'm like, man, I still have so much food in here, like a pound or 2 pounds of food that I didn't have to carry had I just planned a little better. I will just say that it's easy to overpack food. If you have a big food bag, you're probably going to fill it. If you haven't done much planning, you haven't done much calculating as far as calories go, you will probably pack too much food. A good rule of thumb is to plan 100 calories for every ounce of food that you're going to be carrying. That will obviously fluctuate here and there, but that's a pretty good gauge and guide for when you're planning your meals and your food to take out with you on the trail. Another thing to think about is high fat. Fat is the most calorie dense macronutrient. It has 9 calories for every 1 gram of fat. And so that's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. Things like snacks add up really quickly. This Lara bar here is 1.7 ounces and it's 200 calories. So it's well within. It's actually pretty good as far as that 100 to 1 ratio. These are great, but if I carry 5 extra of these, I've almost added 10 extra ounces to my pack that I didn't really need to carry. So how many of these will I need? How many snacks will I need? Another thing to think about is things like these little packaged things of salmon or tuna. These are heavy. And if you look at the ingredients, or not the ingredients, if you look at the calories on these for the weight, this is 2.7 ounces and it's 110 calories only, and only has 4 grams of fat. So definitely it has a lot of protein, both of these do, but they do have water in these packages. So these are pretty common go-to backpacking meals. And depending on the length of your trip, these are probably okay. But if you're trying to cut weight and you're really going for a lot of miles, I don't know. These might be good for like your first day, so you can really drop a bunch of weight really quickly. But I would say look at stuff like this. That calorie to weight ratio is really good. Good rule of thumb. Again, I know I've said that already, but I think it's really important to be able to plan that food. And then the last thing that I've already mentioned is the high fat. Think high fat and still get complex carbs and protein in your diet when you're out there to be able to refuel and replenish. And that right there takes me to point number 3, which is cut the fat. It's an old saying that just means cut all the excess, trim where you can. Don't take anything that you don't really need. Now, again, I will reiterate what I said earlier: to be safe, take what you need to be safe. Don't cut stuff that will compromise your safety out there. But there are a lot of things that people take that are definitely not needed. That is a definite thing that's going to add a bunch of weight to your pack. Taking extra food is really heavy. The same with taking extra stuff, extra gear, extra things that you never end up using. One thing is figure out how much fuel you'll need. Taking a thing like this versus a thing like this, if you don't need it, is a lot of extra weight. I think this thing weighs, 1.6 or 1.8 pounds, 1 pound, 8 ounces, which is super heavy if you don't need it. Whereas you can take something like this, and I think this has been used, so it's not going to be a true weight, but I think it's 7.4 ounces. Yeah, 7.4 is what it's printed on it when it's full. So you're cutting out a pound over just thinking, oh, I might need this much fuel. But figure out how your stove works, how efficient it is as far as boiling water, how many boils you need, how much water you're going to need. On the back of these packages, it says. So if this is what you're going to be eating out there for every meal, think, okay, I need 4 meals. I need 4 dinners if I'm going for 4 nights. Then think, oh, I need 3/4 cup times 4, and calculate how many boils you need. If you're going to be doing hot chocolate or whatever in the morning, then figure that out. That will be a way to be able to help you gauge how much fuel you'll need, whether it's something massive like this or something smaller. And there are different sizes of these, but definitely something to think about. Another non-essential item is deodorant. This stuff could be left at home. And now if you absolutely need it because you're worried about smelling, which I don't know, we're out hiking, we're gonna smell. But if that's something that you're worried about, you know, take a mini one, take a travel size one. Don't take a full one of these. And because a travel size one will even last you for multiple days. And this is just heavy. This thing weighs 3 ounces. And if you can cut 3 ounces from your pack just by leaving it at home, do it. The next huge weight saver is taking extra clothing. I'll just give an example of a 3-day, 2-night trip. I might take, if I was taking extra clothing for each day, which I don't anymore, I would take, you know, a shirt, some pajamas for a night, and that's one thing that's not really necessary and will for sure be able to cut some weight out of your pack. Leave the pajamas at home. You will have extra socks. Now, I will say 1 pair of extra socks is great just because you can swap it out each day and wash it and then let it dry the next day and keep your feet safe. I will give a link to a video I did on some habits that are definitely going to help make your trip better, and where I talk about feet care. And so check that video out. However, 1 pair of extra socks is perfect, but you don't need a pair for every single day that you're out there. That's just weight that's not needed. Some people will disagree with this. Well, some people might disagree with all of this, and that's okay. Leave it in the comments again if you have, you know, any beef with any of these items. But I also take 1 extra pair of underwear, and depending on the length of the trip, I won't even potentially carry even 1 extra pair. I'll just, if there's a lake, I'll just take a dip in the lake. An extra jacket isn't probably necessary. I've seen people carry multiple extra jackets that are just like adding tons and tons and tons of weight to your pack. And then things like like a pair of shorts or pants for every single day, a sun hoodie for every day. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and throw all this stuff in this pack, this stuff sack here. We're going to weigh it and just see how much these items, this is a 3-day, 2-night clothing loadout. If I was to take all of this and I just put it on the scale, and I'm at 4 pounds of weight. And not to mention, this is super bulky. I mean, yeah, it could be pressed down, but it's not going to press down very much or compress down very much. And so, I don't know. Clothing adds up. The weight adds up big time. Take what you need, but don't feel like you have to take clothes for every single day. I went with a friend one time, and he hadn't gone backpacking a whole lot. And he asked me, like, you know, what clothes he should take. And I just said, I take 1 pair of clothes. And he's like, what? But you'll save tons and tons of weight by doing those things. And it's going to help you be able to have a lighter pack, have a more enjoyable time out there on trail, and not really change the experience or make it less safe. This is why I wanted to make this video, because there are a lot of things, a lot of people that go out there and they pack for the what ifs, and they pack for all these things, and yet they have a miserable time because they're packed so heavy. And just cut some of these things. Make the trade. Number 1, plan your meals, and then cut the fat. Those 3 things are definite things that you can do before your next trip when you're packing to be able to easily cut weight and not spend a ton of extra money with the gear you might already have sitting around at your house. So just something to think about. Again, leave a comment in the comment section if you have any different ideas or disagree with any of this stuff. That's totally cool. This is just some things that I've done and things I've seen people do, and I've helped them be able to cut weight in their pack for the next time they go out, and they've been very grateful. I hope you all stay safe out there. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and again, stay safe out there, and thanks for watching.